The series starts with Viserys Targaryen, played by an actor Paddy Considine, sitting on the Iron Throne as the King of Westeros. His mount Balerion the Black Dread. King Viserys Targaryen is chosen by the Lords of Westeros to succeed the old king Jaehaerys Targaryen at the Great Council at Harrenhal. A warm, kind and decent man, Viserys only wishes to carry forward his grandfather's legacy. But good men don't necessarily make for great kings. The king has a famous brother about whom entire Westeros tells stories, Daemon Targaryen, the rogue prince played by an actor Matt Smith. It's George R. R. Martin's favorite Targaryen known as the Prince of the City, Lord Fleabottom and the Rogue Prince. He's the most controversial man of his lifetime, an audacious rogue prince and adventurer who seems made of good and evil in equal measure. Prince Daemon is the most experienced warrior of his time and wields the Valyrian steel blade Dark Sister, a dragon rider whose dragon is Xerxes. Writings of Westerosi Archmaester gives the best description of Daemon. It reads over the centuries how Targaryen has produced both great men and monsters. Prince Daemon was both. In his day there was no man so admired, so beloved, and so reviled in all Westeros. He was made of light and darkness in equal parts. To some he was a hero, to others the blackest of villains. King Viserys also has a daughter, Rhaenyra Targaryen. She will be played by an actress, Emma Darcy. Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, cheered as the realm's delight, is the firstborn child of King Viserys I Targaryen. Rhaenyra was King Viserys I's only living child by his first wife, Queen Aemma of House Arryn. At the age of 8, she was made her father's heir, and grew up expecting to become the first ruling queen of Westeros. Rhaenyra is a dragon rider whose mount was Syrax. Rhaenyra and Daemon are together despite the fact that they are niece and uncle. Since the king's first wife died, the king married Alicent Hightower. She's played by Olivia Cooke. With her he finally gets male children, the oldest of which is Aegon. But still, Aegon's half-sister Rhaenyra is older, and even though the king has male heirs, Rhaenyra remains the official heir to the throne. At first, young Rhaenyra and Alicent got along well, but a rift grew between them as soon as Alicent produced her own children for Viserys I, and clearly wanted them to succeed to the throne instead of her. Alicent bore Viserys I 4 children: Aegon II, Aemond One Eye, Daeron the Daring and Helena, who became the sister wife of Aegon II. The reason Alicent and Viserys wed was Alicent's father, Otto Hightower, played by Rhys Ifans, who had been Hand of the King in the last few years of the long reign of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen. In 101 AC, Otto brought the young Alicent to the royal court, where she cared for the aging king. Jaehaerys eventually died in 103 AC, while Alicent was reading to him and was succeeded by his grandson Viserys I. The last but not least of the Targaryens from this time period, we have Princess Rhaenys, known among the small folk as the Queen Who Never Was. She's the granddaughter of Jaehaerys I Targaryen, and the cousin of Viserys I Targaryen and Daemon Targaryen, as her father was the Prince of Dragonstone, and she was his firstborn child. Many considered her as being next in line for the Iron Throne, but upon quite a few unfortunate events, such as the death of her father, she was passed over. The Great Council voted for her cousin Viserys to be the new king. Rhaenys married legendary Corlys of House Velaryon, known as the Sea Snake, who will also play a major role in the series, and he's played by an actor, Steve Toussaint. While the first few episodes will pretty much be a calm before storm, in which we'll get to know all these characters, the second half of the first season will see the beginning of the most devastating war Westeros has ever seen, the Dance of the Dragons. It all starts when King Viserys dies, and half of the kingdom sides with his designated heir Rhaenyra, while the other half sides with Queen Alicent, who pushes the claim of her son Aegon. We have the Greens against the Blacks. The Greens are the faction that support the claim of Aegon II Targaryen, their rivals being the Blacks, who support the claim of Rhaenyra Targaryen. Both were named for the color of their clothes worn during one tourney. The forced closeness of Rhaenyra's and Alicent children increased animosity between the Blacks and the Greens. The royal children and grandchildren became dragon riders, and court visitors observed the dragons of one faction, snapping and spitting flames at the dragons of the other party. Viserys dies in mid-season on the third day of the third moon of 129 AC, during a nap in the Red Keep of King's Landing. On his deathbed, he refuses to change the succession and decrees his heir to be Rhaenyra. He is found dead by a servant, who first goes to Alicent to inform her of Viserys' death, which proves to be a grave mistake, as Alicent proclaims Aegon the king over the wishes of Viserys. At the time of her father's death, Rhaenyra is on Dragonstone, as is the place for true heir. The Greens in King's Landing ensure that the news of Viserys' death does not reach Rhaenyra until her own supporters in the Red Keep are dead or imprisoned, and Aegon II's coronation had already occurred. King Viserys decreed Rhaenyra to succeed him, but Aegon the Elder, the eldest son of his second wife Alicent, is instead crowned Aegon II by Sir Criston Cole, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. On Dragonstone, Rhaenyra learns about the death of her father and the betrayal of her siblings. Rhaenyra, in answer to Aegon's betrayal, is crowned a queen at Dragonstone and swears revenge. This leads to a civil war between Rhaenyra and Aegon, the Dance of the Dragons. A war of succession between Aegon II and his half-sister Rhaenyra over their father Viserys I's throne. The devastating civil war that tore apart the Seven Kingdoms. The war lasted for 3 years, and by the time it came to an end, thousands were dead. Nearly all of the Targaryen dragons had been killed, as well as many Targaryens themselves. It didn't start out right with war using dragons and armies, but at first it was a war of ravens. Rhaenyra makes her own council at Dragonstone, the Black Council. Participants are, amongst others, her uncle husband Daemon, her 3 eldest sons Jacaerys, Lucerys, and Joffrey, Lord Corlys Velaryon and his wife, Princess Rhaenys. During the council, it's resolved that while Rhaenyra remains at Dragonstone to regain her health, Prince Daemon and Xerxes will travel to the Riverlands to make Harrenhal their base and rallying point for those loyal to Rhaenyra. House Velaryon will close off the Gullet, blocking all shipping from Blackwater Bay. Princess Rhaenys is convinced that Storm's End will declare for Rhaenyra, since Lord Bormund Baratheon, the deceased father of Lord Boros and Rhaenys' uncle, had always been a supporter of Rhaenys. Prince Daemon is also convinced that Lady Jane Arryn, the Maiden of the Vale, will bring her support to their side. Although they believe the North to be too remote to play an important part in the war, messages are to be sent to those lords nevertheless. Rhaenyra's sons themselves depart to rally the lords to their side, with the eldest Jacaerys visiting the Arryns of the Eyrie, the Manderleys of White Harbor, and the Starks of Winterfell. Rhaenyra's second son Lucerys travels to Storm's End. Prince Daemon leads the first attack of the war on Harrenhal, which is conquered without bloodshed. The Castellan Sir Simon Strong yields when he sees Daemon's dragon. This conquest leads to victories of the Blacks at the Burning Mill and Stonehenge, and allowed the River Lords, such as House Blackwood, to gather at Harrenhal. In the meantime, Jacaerys gains Lady Arryn and the Lords Manderley, Borrell, and Sunderland, and Cregan Stark to Rhaenyra's cause, with Cregan allying through the Pact of Ice and Fire. Towards the end of Season 1, the first battle between Targaryens and their dragons will occur, which will set the dark tone for the rest of the war, filled with blood, fire, revenge, and grief. The dance over Shipbreaker Bay. Lucerys flies to Storm's End, arriving before a gathering storm. He finds Prince Aemond One-Eye and his dragon Vhagar already present, who's there on his brother King Aegon's behalf to win the Baratheon Lord to his side. Prince Aemond and Lucerys had bad blood even prior to this, as when they were younger, Lucerys took out Aemond's eye with a dagger in a fight. Aemond tries to provoke Lucerys into a fight, insulting him, calling him a strong bastard, but Lucerys, sworn not to fight, refuses him. He delivers his message to Lord Boros Baratheon, but is refused and told to leave. Lord Baratheon prevents Aemond from attacking his cousin in the castle, but allows for the prince to follow him. Mounted on his dragon, Aemond catches up with Lucerys during a raging storm. The fight between the two dragons does not last long. Vhagar, being 5 times bigger, has the advantage and Arrax falls broken. Rhaenyra collapses when learning of Lucerys' death. Prince Daemon at Harrenhal sends a raven to his wife, promising that her son's death would be avenged. Using one of his friends from King's Landing, his former lover and current mistress of Whisperers, Mysaria, who is played by an actress, Sonoya Mizuno, Daemon enlists the help of a former sergeant in the City Watch, known now only as Blood, and the Red Catcher from the Red Keep, now known only as Cheese. The two sneak into the Red Keep using secret tunnels and hidden doors, which brings them into the Tower of the Hand. There Queen Alicent is bound and gagged, and her bedmaid strangled. When Queen Helena, King Aegon's sister wife, and their 3 children appear, Blood and Cheese close the doors and tell Helena to choose which of her sons will die. Helena reluctantly chooses Maelor because he's younger, but Blood does the opposite and kills the older prince instead. The two flee with the prince's head, leaving the others unharmed, and Daemon proves his word to Rhaenyra, and they hit back at King Aegon, a son for a son. This is the Season 1 finale, and it sets the tone for the upcoming seasons filled with fire and blood, revenge and grief, deaths of Targaryens, their dragons and their armies. Ramin Djawadi, the composer of Game of Thrones epic music, is back to compose for all these epic scenes in House of the Dragon. If you like epic drama series filled not only with epic battles between armies and dragons, but also filled with court politics, betrayals, and everything that made you fall in love with the world of Westeros in the first place, then you're going to love this Game of Thrones prequel. House of the Dragon begins filming in about 1 month, and will premiere in 2022 on HBO. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.